Okay, so my friends, live office hours, full voice music live office hours. Today is teaching singing to children and young adults, and our special guest is the one, the only, Dr. Jenevora Williams. Now, if we have not met, if you are new to Full Voice Music, first of all, my name is Nikki Loney, and Full Voice Music is a Canadian company. We specialize in resources for voice teachers. We offer a wide range of resources, including workbooks and repertoire books, but one of our big mandates is teacher training. And we have lots of opportunities for private teachers, classroom teachers, choral directors to continue their professional development. And one of the ways that we do that is here with our live office hours. And we started doing the live office hours last year. In fact, it's been almost a year since we started this, and the response has been fabulous. So if you are watching this online on our YouTube channel, be sure to check out some of our previous workshops. We've had incredible topics, really helpful topics, and amazing guests like Donna Rodenizer, like Dr. Jenevora Williams, and of course, my friend and colleague who is here today, Mim Adams. She's one of the pillars here at Full Voice Music. I'd be very sad if she wasn't here. She's also done workshops on introducing jazz to young singers. I want to take a moment to introduce our wonderful guest. Dr. Jenevora Williams has been in my heart forever. Her first edition book, Teaching Singing to Children and Young Adults, was one of the most helpful resources that I had as a teacher working with young singers. The first book I own has been dog-eared, and it literally is crumpling because it was such an important resource. And I had the absolute pleasure of meeting Jenevora in 2022 at the National NATS Convention, where we presented together with Dana Lentini all about working with young singers. And at that convention, we had an amazing time. We became wonderful friends. And when she was talking about her third edition, I mentioned that it might be a good fit for Full Voice Music, and she agreed, and here we are today. Now, Jenevora has done a lot of wonderful presentations for us. She's been a guest on the podcast, and today I'm so thrilled that she could join us to answer your questions. Now, before we move into that, I want to let everybody know Jenevora's book is now available. It's available in Canada, in the US, on our website, fullvoicemusic.com. It is also now available to our friends in Australia. The books have arrived, and they are waiting for our Australian, New Zealand friends. And we are so delighted to have partnered with Chimes Music in the UK. And Chimes will ship to all throughout the UK and the EU. So there's lots of wonderful places that you can get this wonderful new book. The other thing I want to tell everybody, and this is so exciting, if you are sticking around to the end, and I hope that you do, because you have to do that in order to be eligible for our draw. In every live office hours, we have a draw to the participants, and we are sharing tickets to Jenevora's presentation next month on vocal health for children. This is a $99 workshop webinar, and you have an opportunity to win a ticket for this presentation. Whew, I think I'm done. I've done all the important things. Thank you for your patience. Now, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Williams. And her and I went through the questions, and we've organized them. One of the things I wanted to mention is that a lot of questions were asked about helping singers who are developing pitch accuracy. And in order to be most effective, I'm going to direct everybody to that entire presentation. The first live office hours that we did is all about developing pitch accuracy. So if you're struggling, or if you're looking for more strategies, I'm going to direct you to this wonderful presentation so that Dr. Jenevora Williams can talk about things like vocal health. And I'm going to start with the question that comes up each and every time, which is, can it be harmful to teach singing to young students under the age of 12? Over to you, Jenevora.
So you've started with a very easy one, Nikki. Thank you very much. And the answer is, no, it can't be harmful. Next question.
Okay, I actually have my own personal question based on that. Why do you think people keep asking this question? Why does this come up? There's probably a reason for it.
The reason is because people used to think that singers were being trained, children were being trained to sound like adults. And if you're training children to sound like adults, then it's not very helpful. It's not appropriate. It's not useful. They're not adults. They don't have the right mechanism. So that's where it comes from. So now we know so much more about children's vocal development. We know about what's going on as they're growing. We know about what they can and can't do. And we know that they just sing all the time anyway. So why not help them to do it more easily?
Beautiful, beautiful. Staying in the topic of vocal health, and this is a really helpful question. Sometimes students will come in with hoarseness present in their speaking voice. And how do we determine if it's just part of growing or if there's something underlying, if there's something we need to be more concerned about?
Yeah, it's not cut and dried. You can't give an absolute answer to this one, because the only way to tell is to have a look inside with a camera, a nasendoscopy. But you can't do that with every kid, and it's quite invasive, and they get ill and then they get better. So there's a little bit of just thinking sensibly about this. The first thing is, are they ill? Have they got a viral infection? Because if they have, then that's probably what's causing it. So they'll get better, and then that will get better. Is it a change that they can adapt? So is it something that if you get the right sounds, it goes away? If you play with noises, if you've got a very breathy, high voice that's just not pinging like it used to, can you get it to ping if you play at being a kitten or, making silly noises? Yeah. If it never, ever comes out, then there's possibly a bit more of a problem there. Is it intermittent is question number one. Is it better at certain times of the day is another question. Will it get better in a week's time? Yeah, give it a little bit of time. With this, it's not going to hurt if they have this voice issue for 2 or 3 weeks. Just give a bit of time. Find out what else might be going on in their lives. Have they just been screaming a lot because they are very angry with their younger sibling who keeps breaking their Lego? Have they been screaming a lot because they are playing sport and they've just got promoted into a new team and they're really trying to prove themselves? Just what's going on. Maybe these hoarseness issues can be caused by anxiety. They're often exacerbated by anxiety. So if the kid's really worried about something, we've been hearing mum and dad shouting at each other, there might be things going on behind the scenes. So give it a bit of time, see what's going on. If it's a real problem that doesn't go away, you can't do anything about it, you can't shift it, you can't change it, and it's there 3-4 weeks later, then trip to the doctor.
Excellent advice. Mm-hmm. This also falls under vocal health. There were many questions, and this comes up often. Should children and adolescents be taught to belt, or are they too young? And this also falls into repertoire, because they often are looking at pop repertoire or even more of the modern musical theater repertoire, which is also very big sounding.
Yeah. Well, I think about what children do with their voices when they're not in singing lessons. And a lot of the time they are shouting. They are yelling at each other. They're having fun. If they're happy and they are in a safe place, their voice function will probably be pretty effective. So they know how to use their voices quite well already. The problems with belting tend to come when you try too hard and overthink it. So just play and see what happens. If you tell children not to do something, what's going to happen? You know, if somebody's got a smartphone and you put it by their bed and say you're not allowed to look at your smartphone until tomorrow morning when you wake up, and then they hear you go downstairs and turn the TV on and shut the door. So tell them not to belt, and they're going to go, oh, I wonder why I'm not allowed to do this. And they'll just do it and try too hard and think too hard and worry about it. And that's really not going to help at all. So just go in and have fun and make sure that whatever they're doing, they are loose and having fun and not worrying, and that they are doing it with their voice, that they're not trying to sound like somebody else. And see if you can get it to come from an emotional place. So if you're calling for somebody because you're really pleased to see them, you're going to be belting in your best possible technique. So those are all the kind of the factors around it. Yep. I see then repertoire choices. Yeah, how to deal with inappropriate vocal range choices. Again, that's a short answer question. Transpose the song, rewrite it, put the bits that are too low a bit higher, put the bits that are too high a bit lower, change it around, make the fast bits a bit slower, take more breaths. You can always rewrite a song. You can always rewrite a song. However important that composition is, composers don't mind. Yeah, just adapt it and do it with your student. All right, how can we make this bit a bit easier? That I don't think you are able to, you know, are you, ask them, are you able to really express what you want to in that bit? No, it's a bit low, isn't it? What would happen if we put it here and did it like this? Yep. Improv. Rewriting.
I love it. That is such a great teacher takeaway. Moving into more of the technical aspects, we had quite a few questions about warm-ups, about registration, navigating vocal registration, and about breathing. So with children, what is the breath expectation for them? Their bodies are little, they're young, their lungs are smaller. And then just things like warm-ups. What are our appropriate warm-ups for a child? And how do we get that confidence in their singing voices?
Lots of important things there. Breath expectations, yes, they have smaller lungs. And the younger the child, the smaller the lungs, and they won't be able to sustain phrases for so long. You can play games with breath. You can play games like how long you blow. I get a tiny little bit of paper, like, you know, that big, and put it up against the wall. And can you blow and keep the paper against the wall with your breath? Can you blow out 5 candles with one breath? There are all sorts of games you can use to raise their awareness of sustaining breath. But you can't make it last longer than they're physically capable of doing. So then take another breath. Luckily, it's free. Breathe as often as you like, and you don't get charged. So yes, don't make such a problem out of it. Warm up. warm-ups. I've written a lot about warm-ups in the book, and I am thinking and possibly rethinking some of this. Because warm-ups, how much do we really need to warm up? What we need to do is prepare our voice for the singing we're about to do. So if the kid has been running around in the playground and comes running into their singing lesson, do they need to warm up their body and warm up their breathing? Probably not. If they've been chattering all day, do they need to warm up their voice? They may need to explore the upper range that they haven't been using. So just a couple of pitch glides will reacquaint them with that. If they've just been sitting in a car while they're being driven to their singing lesson, they may need a bit more warming up. So it's really framing it around that individual, and you can ask them, what have you been doing? What have you just been doing before you came in? And getting the body ready to sing shouldn't take that long if it's a fit and healthy body that sings often. So professional singers who are singing a lot every day, I mean, I remember this when I was doing opera work. I could warm my voice up in 3 minutes because I was just getting back to where I was yesterday, and it wasn't very difficult at all. If you have to spend an awfully long time warming up your voice, then there may be an issue, something going on, or you may be overthinking it. So if they're not singing at all in between lessons, they may need a bit more warming up. So it's not a one size fits all. Find out from the kid what they've been doing and work out together what will get them into a place where they can access their full range, where they can sustain their breath, where they reminded themselves of those good habits and reminded themselves of the kind of sounds that you were working on last time we worked together. And then confidence and role play. And this also, there was something about opening mouths.
Yeah, there was a question about how do you get them to open their mouth, release the jaw without just saying opening your mouth.
Open your mouth. Because then, if the kid's a bit self-conscious and doesn't want to open the mouth and say open the mouth, then they're going to have to do that and feel more self-conscious, and it's going to make things worse.
Right.
So, you can, again, play games. If the mouth is tight shut and they're not really doing very much with it at all, go further with that. So if somebody, for example, if you've got tight shoulders, what's a really good way to let go of tight shoulders is to make them tighter and then let them go. All right, and then you've got a contrast. So if you've got a tight jaw, what you can do is you can get a pencil and you can get them to sing this whole song holding a pencil between their teeth. And it's hard work. And you've got to really work the articulators, and your jaw can't move at all. Then when you take the pencil out, the relief is wonderful. And the articulatory clarity continues and the jaw releases. And you can do that with a pencil there. You can do it with a finger between your teeth. You can do it with your thumb between your teeth. You can do it. You can get a grape or a blueberry and put that between your teeth. And then if you tighten your jaw, you burst it.
Oh.
Another thing you can do is just ask them to put their fingers very gently on the side of their face and just let go and feel it all really soft and loose and let go of that. So fingers aren't digging in. They're just, the message is very gentle, just letting go. And then you can explore. Maybe you can put your fingers in between your teeth. What happens then? Try singing the phrase like that. Playing silly games. Changing patterns, changing habits, changing awareness. And then role play and confidence. When we know that role play is a brilliant way to get people out of themselves, out of their kind of, I'm embarrassed to be me, and pretend to be somebody else. So the role play can be, I want you to, you can go through all sorts of different animal noises. Yeah, you can play it being different animals. You can play it being different kind of spaceships and, you know, motorboats and all sorts of things. Or you can play it being different characters. And if you've got props, then that's fantastic. So a hat, feather boa, a big scarf, a silly nose with a moustache under it.
I love it.
Any of those sort of props, yeah, can just really shift, and somebody can just explore what it's like to be somebody else. If they're very embarrassed, then maybe they could sing to the wall instead of to you. They could turn and face the wall. They could turn and face the wall and have a little stuffed toy in their hand that they sing to, because that's really not confrontational and not judgmental at all. Singing to their pets can be really helpful. And sometimes maybe sing with them. But if you're singing with them to help carry them along, face to face, again, is quite confrontational. So shoulder to shoulder is easier. And shoulder to shoulder, don't look in the mirror while you're doing it, because then you've got faces looking back at you. So just stand next to them, side by side, and just take them with you for the ride. All the time, check in with the student. What do you think? How does that make you feel? Are you enjoying that? Does that make it easier? Does it make it more difficult? What are you noticing when you do that? Constant checking in, because if it's not working, if it's not helpful, just do something else. You've got a million ideas at your fingertips. Just do something else.
Beautiful, beautiful. We are going to move into voice growth and change. And one of the top questions that came up quite a few times is, how is teaching singing to children or adolescents different than working with adults? And then there were some questions specifically about young lower voices and higher voices. One of the things we were talking about prior to starting this meeting, was just about the language that we use in regards to voice change and growth. And I was hoping you could speak to that to help teachers get an idea of what language we can use when we are referring to it.
Yeah, great. So how is teaching singing to children different from adults? And I've got two answers for that. The first answer is that it really helps to know what the developmental stages are, and to know what young voices can do and what they're comfortable doing. For example, we talked about breath. Yep, the younger voices will have a shorter breath capacity. You know, they're not going to be able to sing long phrases so easily. They've got different pitch range. They've got different colours in their voice. And so if you are expecting them to sound like mini adults and to learn like mini adults, that ain't going to work. So knowing those developmental changes and knowing what happens when they move into adolescence, and knowing what the hormone shifts will do to the voice, is very, very useful information. My other answer is, if you're truly person-centered in your teaching, it doesn't matter how old they are, because you are interacting with another human. And they might be 5 years old, they might be 15 years old, or they might be 45. And they're just another human. And if you're interacting with them at the most appropriate way for them, and asking them how they want to go about this, and checking in with them, and being really person-centered, it doesn't matter how old that human is. Now on to testosterone and what that does to boys' voices. What will happen is the growth happens in stages. So you'll notice a change, and then those things will stabilize, and then you'll notice another change, and then things will stabilize. What are you noticing? The main thing is to listen to the speaking voice. Always listen to the speaking voice anyway. It's a really good measure of how someone's feeling, their state, their general state of happiness. It's a great measure of how healthy their voice is today. It's a great measure of how tired they are. You know, we do it instinctively all the time. When we meet up with a friend, we hear their speaking voice, and we may check in, you sure you're feeling okay today, or how are things? You know, because they sound a bit different. So if you're used to their speaking voice, they're coming for lessons, and you notice a little bit of huskiness coming in, or it's getting a little bit lower, then change is on the way. The other thing to look out for is their feet, because if their feet are growing a lot, then the next thing to happen is the larynx will grow. And it's an easy question to ask, when did you last get new shoes? It's not personal, it's not difficult, it's not invasive, it's quite a fun thing to talk about. So you can watch out for that, and you can prepare. It's a great conversation to have. Did you know that when your feet grow, that's the first thing that will grow in your body, and then you will get taller, and then your larynx will get bigger. And when your larynx gets bigger, your voice is going to change a bit, and it's going to get a bit lower. And we're going to watch out for that, okay? So we're going to keep tabs on that. And every week, you're going to speak to me, and I'm going to say what I'm hearing, and you're going to tell me what you're feeling, and we're going to do this journey together and celebrate it. It's great fun. Great fun. And the same for all hormone changes, all right? Estrogen shifts, when that comes in, and you've got somebody starting their menstrual cycle, those ups and downs that they'll be dealing with, when mid-month the voice is much more flexible and much easier, and then towards the end of the month, first couple of days of the period, then it may be more husky, it may be that you've lost a bit of the upper pitch range, it may be that it's just a bit claggy, there may be no shift at all, but you can prepare for it, and you can say objectively, did you know that when people have their menstrual cycle, they can find that this happens with the voice, and leave it at that. And you don't need to ask them, are you having menstrual cycles? You can just put the fact out there and see what comes back. So the language that we use, I've just used quite medical language, menstrual cycle, testosterone. You know, those, I think when you're talking about things like this, it's quite helpful just to keep it really clear. And as for gender-specific language, ask the student, how would you like me to refer to you? What do you think is going on? How are you feeling with this? Just check in and ask them, what would you like me to call you? It's not difficult.
Beautiful. Thank you. There was one specific question, and it actually came up quite a few times, referring to the glottal chink, the mutation for upper voices. What age do you expect the vocal chink to resolve by, and how to work with teenage singers so they don't press phonation to prematurely close the chink, but to encourage vocal fold abduction?
The best ways that I know are, one, just playing with silly sounds, because you may find that in a very excitable, emoted sound like woo, there's no breathiness at all, clear as a bell. Yep. If somebody's very, very excited, does the upper pitch range come through clearly? You can do gentle adduction with semi-occluded vocal tract, with if you're sliding up to a and then you do a pop at the top. Then because you set up that very easy vibration and that easy contact going through, the sound that then pops out at the end is more likely to be easy. Now, it's not a foolproof, always going to be clear, but it will be clearer. Yeah. And that is not a press sound. You can't press doing that. Glottal closure exercises. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Do it in speech first. Uh-oh, and then take it a bit higher. What does that feel like? It gets more and more challenging the higher you go. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Much more difficult. I can see everyone trying it out on the cameras. They're all going. But if you do it very gently and very lightly and play with it, those little pops are going to just exercise the muscles. So why do we have that gap? Maybe we could talk about that for a minute. That gap is just to do with coordination. So what happens when we bring the vocal folds together to make sound is that there are muscles in and around the vocal folds that are pulling them together and making them stay shut. And then we move air through that, and that sets up a vibration. So it's like with your lips, that kind of vibration. All right, you have to press them together first, and then you blow air through. That's a useful model to use for teaching as well. When you go higher in pitch, yeah, those vocal folds are getting longer and thinner. And again, you can use a rubber band to illustrate that, or some kind of stretchy band. As it gets longer and thinner and you ping, 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 it gets higher. If any of them play string instruments, they know that. So longer and thinner, as the vocal folds get longer and thinner, the muscles that do that specific action will pull the vocal folds apart as they do it. So the inexperienced singer, the higher they go, the more the vocal folds come apart and the more air escapes. So the coordination is overriding that and having enough closure so that they're not getting pulled apart, but not too much closure that you're having to press too hard and no sounds coming out, or it's strained. So it is a really delicate, coordinated, subtle, nuanced way of working that if you thought about what was going on, you wouldn't start. You just couldn't get around it. So just know that it's a thing and play with noises, play with sounds. All the time, making it easy. If people are squeezing too much and pressing too much, semi-occluded exercises like lip trills, blowing through water, blowing through a straw, any of those things will immediately release some of that pressing. And movement. See, Nikki's nodding. She knows. Move everything. Do dance moves, do whatever you want, and they're less likely to be gripping than holding.
I wanted to ask a specific question. We had this in the registration quite a bit. Quite often people are looking for specific exercises. And I know you've spoken about this before, and you've just given a whole bunch of different exercises. But a lot of people are concerned that are there appropriate exercises for this age, or, which exercises are best? How would you address that?
The best exercise to do is the one they will do. So there's no point in giving somebody loads of exercises if they're then just going to go home and not do them because they're boring and they don't like them. Find something that they will connect with. And for you as the teacher, know what you're doing and why. So if you're giving them, a 5-note run up and down to different vowels, why are you doing it? What's it achieving? Is it because you want to just try, you're shifting the variables, you're doing the same vocal pattern, but with different vowels so that you're exploring tongue position, resonance, all those sort of things? If that's the case, then you don't need to go through all of that technical stuff with the student, but you could maybe ask them to do the exercise and pay some attention to what stays the same and what shifts when they change vowels. So that would be the point of that exercise. You can't think of why you're doing it. Don't do it. You can take bits out of their songs. Yeah, play with those. The point is to learn new habits. This is all about motor learning, implicit motor learning. Okay. So we are taking the brain into different areas. We are exploring different pathways in the brain in order to achieve something different or to achieve something the same but in an easier way. So sometimes repeating is the most useful. Just doing it lots of times is really, really useful. And just do the same thing 3 times in a row. You don't need to give any judgment. You don't need to give any feedback. Just do it again. Just do it again. Do it again. And then if it goes well, it's so tempting to leap up and down and go, yeah, it was great. Well done. Fantastic. And in that moment, you've just destroyed the possibility for their brain to absorb it and learn it. So when something goes really well, just pause. Dare to be silent for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. And you can tell by looking at their eyes whether they're actually working out what's just happened or whether they're feeling a bit awkward and bored. But often they will fill the silence. So this is something that is really difficult for teachers to learn, actually, when to not say anything. So you may ask a question, what did you notice about that song, about when you sang it? And they don't say anything. And you just wait. See what happens. They'll come up with something in the end. Make them work a bit harder. If you get to the end of your teaching day and you're exhausted, you've got it the wrong way around. They should be exhausted, not you. They're doing the learning. So exercises, there's absolutely no point in just doing them unless you know what they're achieving. So you then have to create pretty well every exercise bespoke for the student you're working with.
Great advice. Great advice. We had quite a few questions about the new 3rd edition of your book. And of course, one of the ones that we get off, if like myself, that has all of the editions, what's new in the 3rd edition?
Whoa. Before I tell you what's new in the 3rd edition, there is one more thing I want to talk about. Shall I say that now or shall I wait?
Yeah, no, go right ahead.
Something that came up in the questions about storytelling,
Oh,
connecting with the song.
yes.
And I've talked about asking questions. What did you notice there? What were you feeling? What were you thinking? What was going on? It doesn't have to be directly related to the story you're telling. You can use other imaginative triggers. You can say, what do you think the weather is like in this song? Is it snowing or is the sun shining? Where are you when you're singing it? Are you indoors or are you out of doors? Are you on top of a mountain? Where would you like to be? Do you want to be by a river? Do you want to be in a car park? Where do you think you are when you sing the song? Using things like, what are you wearing when you sing it? What do you think the character's wearing? What is the character wearing that you're singing the song to? What colour are they wearing? Are they wearing a big coat? It really, really doesn't matter, but it starts that imaginative situation. Okay, so if I'm singing this to somebody and it's raining, I might feel differently than if I'm on a beach. And then ask, how you feel at the beginning of the song and how do you feel at the end of the song? So what's the journey from beginning to end? Where do you think those shifts happen in the song? You can even use really simple imaginative triggers like, you can use puppets and toys and things like that to sing to. You can use, I've got a bag of different fabrics. Yeah. So you give them a bit of silk and just sing it through with the silk, and then you give them some sandpaper, and then you pick out, and they can pick out, oh, I want to sing it to fur now. I want to feel velvet, and then there might be different colors of velvet. So, anything, just play around with different imaginative sensory stimuli.
I'm really glad you shared that, Jenevora, because I'm always so impressed with my students when I give them that space. It might not happen right away, but sometimes when you just open that door, you really start to get that interaction and that participation, and their imaginations are just fantastic. I remember asking one of my students one day, this makes me laugh. This was years ago. I still think about it. We were going from major and minor chords, and I played the minor chord, and she said, minor chord sounds like Mondays. And I was like, oh, but I was like, I get that. Like, it's amazing what you do when you open up and it really becomes person-led, student-led type of instruction. And that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to ask, so can we go to what's new in the 3rd edition?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
What's new? A lot more thinking, a lot more living it, a lot more doing it, a lot more shifts. The older we get, the more we kind of refresh and renew and think again. And I have really completely shifted a lot of my ideas. So there's that. Things are a lot more gentler, less prescriptive, a bit more individual for the student. A bit less, this is less rigid. That's one of the main differences. Another really hugely important difference is it's not just my voice. I have 8 collaborative authors on this, so there are lots of people's ideas. It's not just mine. I've invited specialists in to contribute to things like the chapter on performance anxiety, to help me with the chapter on adolescent voice change, to make sure my language is appropriate for children who maybe don't identify with male or female, or who are shifting. Okay, just to make it kinder and gentler and less rigid. Yeah. I've got experts checking over all of my scientific writing, just to make sure that I'm not doing a complete boo-boo there. I've got Alex Aitken, who has written 3 chapters on musicianship training, and they are the most imaginative chapters you can think of. They don't mention theory, they don't mention reading music, they don't mention any of those things. They are all about stimulating the imagination of those children. Beautiful. And I've got experts in repertoire choices, what's appropriate, how to rewrite a song that is not appropriate, and how to work with inappropriate content, how to discuss that with the student and maybe shift it. If you're singing a love song, it doesn't have to be love for another human. It can be love for your pet. It can be love for a bar of chocolate. It can be, whatever lights you up in the moment. So all of these authors, of course, special needs. I've got an expert helping me, had a couple of experts helping me actually with how to work with children who have different needs, different ways of working, different approaches. So all of those, I think, make it a more interesting read and a more useful book to have.
I love it. I love, Erin just said, I had a student who always sang love songs to ice cream. I love that. I would sing love songs to ice cream all day long. I love it. I want to remind everybody again that the book is available on this side of the hemisphere, on the south part of the hemisphere, and of course, as we like to say from Canada, across the pond to our friends in the UK and in the European Union. Genevra gave me, and I'll let Genevra share these, some important teacher takeaways. I love these, and you always do such a beautiful job of celebrating what teachers truly are trying to do. So I'm gonna let you lead with this.
Yeah, student-centered. I have mentioned this before already, but it is essential. This is at the core of every interaction you have, that you're not going in with a pre-planned, prescribed way of working, that you engage with that person in the room and create the lesson around them and their needs and their joys and their desires. They have to feel safe and comfortable in order to learn. And they have to feel excited in order to learn. So all of those. The next one is, it's kind of obvious, but don't keep bashing at a door that won't open, right? If you're giving them something and they're struggling and they can't get it, and you're going up to that high note and they're not getting the high note, and they're trying to remember that line and they're not remembering that line, or that whatever it is, and it's not working, come away, leave it, do another one. Always find what people can do easily and make that easier for them. Then you are building skills and building confidence. And then the things that are more challenging will kind of work themselves out often. So make easy easier. And ultimately, if in doubt, if you don't know what to do, if you don't know what to say, ask the student.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I want to let everybody know that Genevra has been a guest on our podcast. We talked about happy hormones for learning back in 2022, which is a beautiful interview about learning best practices for working with all ages. And this past year, she did, similar to the questions that we answered today, teaching singing to children and young adults. She answered a lot of great questions in that podcast. I also want to let everybody know that we do have online courses. And if you would like to deep dive into voice growth and change in kids and teens, this is Genevra's 90-minute workshop, and it is fabulous. It includes audio recordings of voices going through voice change, and it is so wonderful. So if you really want to learn about what is happening and what to expect as young people go through voice change, this is a beautiful online course. Study at your own pace, and I highly recommend it. So many teachers really get a lot of clarity about working with adolescents after watching this video and participating. And with our online courses, there is always a quiz and a certificate of completion. So I want to, first of all, I want to thank Dr. Jenevora Williams for her time today, for answering these questions. And thank you, Jenevora. I always learn something. I always have a new exercise, a new idea. It's so helpful. And I want to encourage everybody, if you don't have your copy, please pick it up. Some people were asking in the chat, is the Kindle version coming out? We have an ebook coming out. It will be Kobo, which is a Canadian ebook, but you can get a free reader, and it's basically the same as Kindle. You just gotta go to a different website. So yes, the ebook will be coming soon. And again, I want to thank everybody for their support. The winners today, we will send you, I will send you a link shortly for the presentation. Just keep that email aside and keep it and save it in your inbox. But the reminder emails will be going out. As always, my friends, I want to, you probably know this, but just in case you need to hear it again, the work that you do with your students each and every day is so important. Now more than ever, helping young people have confidence to discover their voice and to express themselves is probably one of the most important life skills that we can take into our lives and beyond. Whether they go into singing professionally or not, it is such important work. And I know that you know this, but I'm telling you that you are doing an amazing job, and that your love and compassion and your joy of singing is a gift that people that is just a lifetime gift. So thank you for that. And I adore all of you who came out today. Many of you have been to our workshops before, and I am so thankful for your support. And I am wishing you an incredible week. And I want to send you a big hug from icy cold Nova Scotia. Thank you so much. And to my colleague Mim for her help today. Thank you so much with the wheel, we call it the wheel of doom, but it's the wheel of knaves. But yes, so thank you everyone, and have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful afternoon.